Lara Rivera pressed her pencil against the sketchpad. The city's afternoon sunlight sweeping through the coffee shop window. Outside, bustling crowds passed by, blurred and busy. But inside, the world felt still, like a painting caught between brushstrokes. It was her favorite spot, Cafe Bloom, with its flickering candles and the scent of espresso dancing in the air. Here, she could almost believe she had everything figured out. But as she tried capturing the crooked smile of the barista, someone took the seat across from her. He was tall, with dark, unruly hair and tired blue eyes hidden behind thick glasses. There was something quietly magnetic about him, like the city itself, a familiar stranger. Lara blinked. "Sorry, is this—" "Best light in the room," he replied, voice gentle like graphite scratching paper. He set down a battered sketchbook and a chipped mug, gaze flitting from her art to her hands. "You're good." Flushing, Lara tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Thank you, I practice a lot." He smiled. "I can tell." The moment hung between them, awkward yet oddly right. She leaned in, unable to resist her curiosity. "What do you draw?" He hesitated before flipping open his own pad. Moody, stylized cityscapes with bursts of color that pulsed off the page. Comics, graphic novels mostly. "I'm Ethan." Their gazes met, something warm and tentative flickering between them. "Lara, so? Why comics?" "They let me put things into pictures I can't say with words." Ethan's eyes dropped, shadowed by a secret. Outside, a sudden rain smacked the window, making the world beyond hazy. They laughed at the shared shelter, united by coincidence and caffeine. As they drew together, their sketches overlapped, city lights mixing with soft outlines of strangers becoming friends. Neither could know it yet, but this meeting was the first line in a story that would color outside every line they had ever dared to draw. Cafe Bloom became their sanctuary, the sort of place where Mondays blurred into Fridays and secrets traded hands with each refill of coffee. It didn't take long for Lara to notice that Ethan always sat facing the door, like he was waiting for someone, or something, to interrupt. One crisp evening, Lara arrived early. She settled at their table, tracing absent-minded circles in her notebook, when Ethan rushed in, late and rain-speckled, his sketchbook clutched to his chest. "I almost thought you'd bailed," she teased, grinning. He shook his head, breathless. "Never. Sorry. Just lost track of time at the studio." Their conversations soon drifted beyond art tools and comic plots. Lara learned Ethan favored quiet streets and classic jazz, while she confessed a lifelong wish to travel, to sketch Parisian rooftops and Tokyo's neon corners. Sometimes he'd go silent at her dreams, as if he wanted to say something, but the words got stuck. "You ever think about leaving?" Ethan asked one night, his voice low over the clatter of dishes. Lara shrugged, nervous. "All the time. I even got into a program in Florence, but—" her smile faded. "It seems selfish to run off when my family needs me here. Plus, what if art school in Italy isn't what I hope?" Ethan's gaze softened. "But what if it's more?" She drew in a breath, surprised by how much his belief stirred her. "You sound like you know a thing or two about running away," she said pointedly. His eyes darted down. Maybe I do. Or maybe I know about missing out. The air thickened with questions neither was ready to answer. A sudden, comfortable silence stretched between them. He tugged his sketchbook closer, opening a page halfway. I want to show you something. On the paper was a comic panel. Two figures, a man and a woman, sitting in a cafe, exactly like Bloom, sheltering from the rain, their imaginary hands almost touching. Lara blinked at the uncanny likeness to their first encounter. "You drew us," she murmured, heart suddenly loud in her chest. He met her eyes and gave a lopsided grin. "Guess we both find inspiration in unexpected places." A gentle thrill moved through her. She wondered how many more panels, how many more bold lines their story might hold. Weeks melted into each other, with Lara and Ethan forming the kind of routine that felt too intimate to name. They hopped between hidden city parks and lively art fairs, their sketchbooks always within reach. One chilly Saturday, Ethan invited Lara to his studio, a sunlit attic stuffed with ink-splattered pages and stacks of graphic novels lined on every shelf. Lara's eyes widened as she wandered through the creative chaos. "Wow, it's like a museum of your mind in here," he grinned, obviously embarrassed. "Don't judge. I clean, sometimes." She picked up a drawing, a sprawling city skyline masked in midnight blues. "Your worlds feel bigger than reality." "Sometimes you need fantasy to see what's real," Ethan replied, his look lingering. They settled on the paint-stained floor, side by side, pencils in hand. Ethan sketched quietly, occasionally watching Lara from under tousled hair. She tried not to notice how his knee brushed hers, or how their laughter echoed high in the rafters. After a while, Lara hesitated. "Can I ask you something personal?" His pencil stilled. "Sure. Why don't you ever show your work at galleries here? You're the best artist I know, but it's like you're hiding." The question hung in the room. Ethan's jaw tensed, eyes shadowing. "Galleries want happy endings. My stories aren't always that." Lara nudged him gently. "Every piece doesn't have to be happy. Besides, you make people feel seen. Isn't that the point?" He let the words rest, then started to smile, a real shaky grin. "When did you get so wise?" She shrugged, trying to mask her sudden rush of feelings. "Maybe I'm just finally listening." Their sketches sprawled together, lines blurring at the edges. Music drifted up from the street below, mingling with a silent promise that even imperfect stories deserve to be shared. As dusk crept in, Ethan looked at Lara, vulnerability exposed. "Would you ever want to work on something together? Like, really together?" Lara's heart skipped. She closed her own sketchbook, placing it next to his, their covers touching. "Let's try. Let's be brave." Beneath the attic's golden light, possibility unfurled, fragile and fearless, waiting for its first bold stroke. They dove into collaboration with the wild recklessness of first love. Mornings started with coffee and brainstorming at Cafe Bloom. Afternoons lost to laughter and heated debates on Ethan's apartment floor. Paper covered every surface, a sea of ideas just waiting for form. One rainy Sunday, they camped beneath a tangle of blankets, sketchbooks scattered between them. The storm outside muffled the city. leaving only the gentle scratch of pencils and the thrum of two hearts working side by side. Lara grinned over her page. "You've never drawn like this before. I can see it." Ethan glanced up. "Maybe I've never had the right muse." She laughed, cheeks pink. "Flatterer." He shifted closer. "What if I mean it?" The line between playful and serious hung in the damp air. Lara felt dizzy and anchored, all at once. "I think you're changing, Ethan. You're letting people in." He grew thoughtful, fingers tapping a nervous beat. "You make it easy. No one else asks about my clouds." A comfortable silence fell. Then Lara said softly, "What if this turns into more than just a project?" He paused, searching her face. "Is that so bad?" She shook her head. "No, it's just, I don't want to lose what's here." Ethan nodded slowly. "Me neither." The storm eased. The city awoke, spokes of sunlight painting the rain-washed streets. Lara stretched, bone-deep content. "What should our title be?" He considered. "How about Lines Between Us?" Lara smiled, warm and sure. "Perfect." As they inked their first official page, fingers brushing, the boundaries between artist and muse, creator and companion, began to blur. Their shared world grew richer with every stroke, fragile but real, a daring new masterpiece taking shape. Spring bled into summer, and the comic blossomed beside their friendship. Each page more intimate, every character more honest. Lara and Ethan began meeting with indie publishers, their nerves shielded only by bursts of laughter and quick glances for reassurance. One Friday evening, as neon signs flickered outside Bloom's windows, Lara waited for Ethan. She flipped through their progress, pride warming her chest. But as the clock crept past the hour, her fingers tapped anxious beats on the table. Finally, Ethan appeared, breathless and distracted, the usual steadiness missing from his eyes. He set his sketchbook down with shaking hands. "Sorry I'm late." His voice was small, unfamiliar. "Family stuff." Lara searched his face. "Do you want to talk about it?" He shook his head, just slightly. "Not yet." They worked in silence for a while, until Ethan's hand hovered over the page. "Is it weird to be scared about something you want?" he suddenly asked. "This comic, us, all of it." Lara considered her answer, tracing her own fears. "I think it's weirder not to be." He met her gaze, some of the haze clearing. "What if I mess it all up?" She put her hand over his, warm and solid. "Then we'll fix it together." A soft smile tugged at his lips. Their comics characters stared up at them, drawn side by side, facing a storm much like their own. That night, as they parted on the rainy stoop, Ethan's voice stopped her. "Lara, thank you. I'm not used to having someone." She reached out, brushing rain from his cheek. "You do now, whatever happens." As she walked home, Lara wondered about the secrets Ethan held. But for now, she trusted the story they were drawing, imperfect, unsteady, but real. And for the first time, she looked forward to tomorrow's blank page. As their collaboration deepened, so did everything else. The city became their backdrop. Nights at art galleries, afternoons sketching in sun-dappled courtyards. Still, Ethan kept certain parts of himself shadowed, his phone lighting up with messages that he never answered in Lara's presence. One day, Lara found herself outside Ethan's apartment door, heart pounding. She wanted more, for him to trust her with whatever lingered just beneath the surface. He greeted her with a soft smile, letting her in. The comic pages they'd finished lined the wall, a growing mural of their journey. "Can you imagine us at a book fair?" Lara asked, perching on the arm of his couch. "A real signing table, fans and everything." Ethan chuckled, though his eyes betrayed a lingering nervousness. "It sounds great. Or terrifying. Maybe both." They began sketching, but for the first time, Ethan's hand hesitated. "Lara, if there's something in my past, something not so perfect, would you still want this?" She closed her book, turning to him. "Is there?" He looked at the window, rain streaking the glass. "My father left when I was 15. I used to draw so he'd come back. I never told anyone but my mom." Lara waited, letting the quiet stretch, then gently put her hand over his. "You get to be more than his choices, Ethan. You make your own story." Pain and hope flickered across his features. "It still scares me, trusting people, trying to be enough. So let's be scared together," Lara whispered. He smiled, closer than before. "You make it easier." They leaned in, their first kiss soft as charcoal, unexpected and perfect. The moment hung in air sweet with promise. The city beyond their window, all blurred edges and golden light. A message buzzed on Ethan's phone again. But this time, he only looked at Lara, choosing her story, at least for tonight. Summer stretched, and so did Lara and Ethan's comfort with each other. Their comic was nearly finished, and every page felt like a secret they had dared to share with the world. The late nights now included lingering glances and laughter woven with whispers, the kind that only happens between two people discovering love. One evening, Lara's phone pinged as she and Ethan were reviewing their final chapters. She frowned. Reading the email, an official letter from the Florence art program, reminding her their acceptance deadline was only 2 weeks away. She tried to slip the phone away, but Ethan noticed. "Good news?" Lara bit her lip. It's Florence. The school wants to know if I'll join next semester." For a moment, there was only the sound of a distant siren outside. Ethan's eyes dropped to the comic. "Right. I almost forgot about Italy." "Ethan, I haven't made a decision." He nodded, tracing the edge of a comic panel. "You should go, Lara. It's your dream." "Is it that simple?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "What about us? And this?" Ethan's sadness was gentle but sharp. "You once told me to be brave. Maybe it's your turn." She had no answer, only the shared ache of two hearts tugged in different directions. Later, as Lara walked home, the city's lights seemed clouded, every neon sign blurred by thoughts of what she'd lose if she left. The days that followed became a balancing act. Their work on the comic was more passionate than ever, but their laughter was tinged with bittersweet urgency. Sometimes, Lara caught Ethan watching her as if committing every detail to memory, sketching her without pencil or page. A secret hope clung between them, that love could bridge what distance might break. The days counted themselves down. Every moment felt precious, each lingering touch, each sideways smile charged with a hint of goodbye. The comic pages were finished, and the pair stood at the threshold of something both exhilarating and deeply uncertain. A big city comic showcase where their work would debut. On the night of the event, Lara arrived early, smoothing her dress as she hovered near their table. Ethan showed up minutes later, carrying a stack of freshly bound copies, nerves making his hands tremble. "Look at us," Lara teased, trying to lighten the tension. "Actual professionals now." Ethan mustered a smile. Terrified professionals. People meandered by, flipping through their comic and showering them with praise. A publisher lingered long enough to ask if they'd like to pitch a full series. For a moment, it didn't matter what tomorrow brought. The world saw them. And it saw the story they'd made together. But when a lull fell, Ethan turned serious. "I want to tell you something. Before anything changes." Lara's heart stuttered. "What is it?" He fumbled in his jacket and produced a small sketchbook. A gift. Inside, every page was a moment from their journey. Laughter at Café Bloom. Shared thunderstorms. The first shy kiss in his attic studio. On the very last page, he'd drawn Florence. Her in the city square, sketchbook in hand and hope in her eyes. "I want you to go, Lara. You have to go. I'll regret it if you don't." Tears prickled at the edges of her eyes, not from sadness, but the overwhelming sense of being seen, truly seen, by someone who only wanted her to bloom. She hugged him fiercely, the world falling away. "What about us?" Ethan looked down, brave but uncertain. "Then we'll draw a new story, even if it's long distance for a while. If you come back, I'll be waiting." Outside, the city's lights blazed, a blur of possibility, and a story not yet finished. The decision weighed heavy, even after the glow of the comic showcase. Lara spent the next week walking the city in thoughtful silence, Ethan's sketchbook pressed to her heart. Each familiar street held memories. The stone bench at the park, where they'd once argued about character arcs. The mural they had painted, hidden in an alley, symbols only they would recognize. Ethan tried to stay hopeful, but Lara could see the quiet panic in his eyes each time they met. One afternoon, they found themselves at Café Bloom, their favorite table strangely empty around them. "When do you leave?" Ethan asked, unable to look at her directly. Lara gave a wan, grateful smile. "Next Friday, if I say yes. There's a scholarship. I'd be crazy to turn it down." He took her hands, his thumb tracing gentle circles over her knuckles. "Promise me something. Don't let fear, or me, make you small." She pressed closer, fighting tears. "Will we really last apart? Or is this just another story we'll tell ourselves?" Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. "I can't promise the future, but I know I love you now. We can try, right? Artists always try." A heavy, hopeful silence filled the air. Lara rested her head on his shoulder, letting his quiet strength anchor her just a little longer. Outside the window, people hurried by, umbrellas up against unexpected rain, life pulsing forward, uncaring of the ache that sometimes comes with choosing your own path. Later that week, Lara's family hosted a farewell dinner, pride and anxiety mixing in every hug. Her mom handed her a tiny envelope. "For Florence. When you feel homesick, open it." Packing was a blur of goodbye sketches and note exchanges. The night before her flight, Ethan stopped by her apartment with one last unfinished comic page. "You finish it when you're ready," he said quietly. "The story's yours now." They spent that last night beneath the stars on her old fire escape, shoulders pressed together. Words slipped away, replaced with shared silence and the promise that their hearts had learned to draw. Fearful, hopeful, and full of the colors only love could bring. The airport buzzed with the relentless energy of departures and reunions. Lara's suitcase rolled behind her, the finality of her journey pressing closer with every step. Her mind spun with images, rain-washed city lights, Ethan's sketchbook clutched to her chest, the goodbye that tasted of hope and heartbreak. At the gate, she opened the envelope her mother had given her. Inside was a tiny drawing. The Rivera family, arms thrown around each other, smiles wide beneath the words. "Come home when you need us." Lara's heart ached, but warmth settled over her. She was loved, here and from afar. Florence was everything she'd imagined. Bustling markets, softly lit studios, old bridges mirrored by golden dusk. She wrote to Ethan almost every day, sending sketches of cathedral rooftops and noisy street musicians. Time zones made calls unpredictable, but when their voices finally met, it was like whispering across a sketchbook page. "Are you drawing?" He'd ask whenever he could. "Always. And you?" "I keep drawing us," Ethan admitted, his voice a little shy. "Because I miss you most when the city goes quiet." Some nights, loneliness curled around Lara, but she'd return to that unfinished comic page. Gradually, she filled it. The bending arches of Florence blurred into the swirl of Ethan's hair, two separate scenes stitched together. It wasn't perfect. Some lines wobbled, some colors ran, but it was real. One afternoon on the steps outside her studio, Lara saw an email from a publisher. Their comic had been picked up for a full series. Excitement bubbled in her chest. But this time, instead of feeling torn, she felt steady. She could have both. A world of art and a heart tethered miles away. Months slipped by. When Lara finally returned home for the holidays, she found Ethan waiting at the airport, sketchbook in hand. Their reunion was quiet at first, a breathless laugh, then arms wrapping around each other, grounding them in something new, but unmistakably theirs. "You finished it?" he whispered, brushing a curl from her face. Lara nodded, pressing the last page to his chest. Our story was never just one place or one ending. Together in the arrivals hall, with their future unwritten and 1,000 blank pages ahead, Lara and Ethan realized the boldest art they'd ever make was simply letting love reshape the canvas. Again and again and again. Boah.